I believe that we have linked with Professor Anselm LeBourne.
Yes, we are WTY 95.9 FM here. We are doing a simulcast here. We are also broadcasting here in New York and New Jersey at WTY 95.9.
Wonderful. I can hear you. Are you hearing me loud and clear?
We hear you loud and clear. We also have with us Uncle Tony as well.
Uncle Tommy, pleasant good evening to you, sir.
Good evening to you, Mikey.
Thank you. Professor LeBourne, I want to jump straight into the heart of this. I know this is an issue that you have been talking about for quite a while. I mean, you talk about economic issues, but one of the things you also mention is those that are disadvantaged. And when I say that, I think we go and we understand quite clearly we're talking about the Afro-Trinbagonian. I just want to take you back to July 2019 when the Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. K. Christopher Rowley, declared that the nation cannot hide from the reality that in a diverse society aiming to do well, African people are not doing as well as we expected or as well as we might. And he said this issue may have a connection to the high level of crime the country is experiencing. And this was back in 2019. And also why some people refuse to address the root problems of crime. And of course, he made those comments during an Emancipation Day celebration, which was hosted at the Diplomatic Center in St. Anne's. What say you? African people are not doing as well as we expected or as well as we might. And looking at that, I mean, how fair is one to make an assessment of that if there may be a lack of programs or policies to assist with making that a reality?
Well, my DK, I am shocked and amazed that the Prime Minister made that statement. Here's why. The Prime Minister stated this was not man, that he could be the blackest man in Trinidad and Tobago. He's been the Prime Minister for over 9 years. But my DK, in the history of Trinidad and Tobago, we have, under Prime Minister Rowley, the highest amount of black people living within poverty line in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. That's 26%. And mind you, my DK, people that say all they want about the UNC this and the UNC that. When Kamala was in power, she reduced the amount of black people living below the poverty line from 19.8% to 17.3%. Badeo Pandey, when he was in power, reduced the amount of black people living below the poverty line from 23% to 19.8%. Even Patrick Manning reduced the amount of black people living below the poverty line. Under Prime Minister Rowley, who said he could be the blackest man in Trinidad and Tobago, he raised it from 17.3% to 26.3%, the highest in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. It has never been higher. And not only that, but the SCA from last year, most of the kids scoring below 50% are black kids. Last year we had 65% of those voters was black people. They had 100 CAPE scholarships. 80% of them went to Indian, and black make up a very small percentage. So when I hear that kind of rhetoric coming from the Prime Minister Rowley, I think that I just spoken to. Because the facts are there and the numbers are there to show that under his watch, black people are suffering silently and peacefully. And remember, 9 years the PNM been in power, and the PNM run the country for the longest. And why it is? Mikey K, can I ask you a question? I know it's your question. Can you give me one socio-economic statistic in the last 9 years where black people are at the top or in the middle in any category? One.
Are you talking about in Trinidad and Tobago?
In Trinidad and Tobago.
I can't name any. I can't name any. But it brings me to an interesting point here that at that same function, Dr. Rowley did say to properly deal with crime, he said answers must be found to serious societal questions. Who is affected? Who is carrying it out? Who is defending it? And who is being ignored? He said that the country must accept that this is a problem for all the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Now, those are some very serious questions as far as who is being ignored, who's affected, and who's defending it.
My ticket numbers are just, I just gave you the number. Who's being ignored? They know who's being ignored. They know. They are in government for 9 years. They have an opportunity to fix this. That's what they told the people. And my ticket, in the last general election, 70 to 80% of the black people that voted for the PNM. If they are voting for the PNM, why are they bottom? Why are they at the bottom of the socio-economic ladder under the PNM? Why is that? Why? And you talking all this talk. You are in power, right? My decade, the Emancipation Support Committee, name was changed from Emancipation Day to African Emancipation Day. They don't even have an acre of land from the PNM, right? Trinbago had 11 acres of land given to them by an Indian Prime Minister. The black Prime Minister, who called himself the blackest man in Trinidad and Tobago, take it away from them. And you could go on and on and on and on with respect to the PNM. Without the black vote, the PNM will not be in power. Yes, my decade, they are the bottom of the ladder in almost every socio-economic statistic in Trinidad and Tobago. Why is that?
Well,
I don't know. I'm just asking.
Well, I wish I had the answer to that myself. I mean, is it something psychological that people believe that they feel a sense of that they're indebted to a party that their mother or father or someone who senior in their family may have told them, listen, you either go this route or you simply get out. Was this something forced upon? And yet still, I mean, even if there's an historical factor there, what about the fact that people who live the reality on a daily basis, don't they consider what they're going through rather than feeling that they're obligated to suffering?
I think you will be surprised to hear me say. I have looked at the numbers. I have done this analysis with respect to the PNM being in power for the last 9 years, and I have come to the conclusion that most of the supporters of the PNM who look like me rather suffer peacefully under a black prime minister than to prosper under an Indian prime minister. I repeat it. Most of the people that vote for the PNM that look like me rather suffer under a black prime minister than to prosper under an Indian prime minister. Let me give you the fact why I say that. I'll give you one statistic. 19.8% black people living below the poverty line reduced to 17.3% in 5 years. Right? From 17.3% to 26.3%, and over 50%. So they are suffering peacefully under Prime Minister Rowley because the black. And you know what they will say? You know they say to people like myself and Tony, that we hate the PNM, we hate the Prime Minister. We don't hate the PNM or the Prime Minister. We hate their policy that have black people suffering peacefully more than ever in the history of Trinidad.
Yeah, and I want to bring a point with you. I know that I mentioned this to you earlier today. When you look at a society that has a group of individuals that will be monopolizing everything, I mean, they're able to dictate the prices of goods, they're able to manage and manipulate the flow of currency, also prices and what have you. How dangerous is that? Because in America with antitrust laws, the minute it seems that a merger may take place that may not be fair to customers, immediately the government will intervene. We don't have that here. So you would have companies, for example, there's one company that is importing pharmaceuticals to this country at this time. Only one. So they have monopolized that. How dangerous is that?
Mikey, that is very, 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 very dangerous. As a matter of fact, Mikey, in 2011, AT&T and T-Mobile wanted to merge. The Department of Justice stepped in and said, no, that is not going to happen. In 2016, Staples and Office Depot wanted to merge their office supply company. The Federal Trade Commission stepped in and said, no. In 2017, Anselm and Cigna, these are companies in health insurance, wanted to merge. The Department of Justice stepped in and said no. In 2015, Comcast and Time Warner, which are cable companies, wanted to merge. The the bird and Baker Hughes, who are oilfield service company, wanted to merge in 2016. The Department of Justice stepped in and said so. Now, in Trinidad and Tobago, my state, there's a Fair Trading Act, right? And that is the legislation governing competition, right? And their aim is to promote and maintain fair competition in the economy and prevent anti-competitive practices and protect consumers. Where are they? Where is the Fair Trading Act? Mikee K, you ever heard of the Trinidad and Tobago Fair Trading Commission, TTFTC? They are responsible for enforcing the Fair Trade Act. Where are they? So what has happened, my state, is this current government have corrupted so many independent organizations in Trinidad and Tobago that we really don't have any independent organizations anymore in Trinidad and Tobago. And also, my state, when the financiers who don't look like you, Tommy, or I, put money into the P&M bank when an election comes. When time comes, the P&M come in power, time to give contracts, they have to pay back to people. Remember, the Prime Minister said he has no problem making the rich richer so they could create opportunities for the poor. And that is exactly what is happening. These conglomerates are taking over everything, especially under this P&M government. Look at Alan Warner. Alan Warner was complaining. Let's imagine one of the Prime Minister's best friends, a big businessman, complaining how he could, with respect to contracts. So you could see that, this P&M government have done things that no other government have done, and it's not in the best interest of that.
And even if you look, Professor LeBourne, even if you look at Movie Town, I mean, that's a scary situation because you're basically talking. We had Barry Padarato on earlier, and he was talking about the fact that the state enterprises can basically, run them to the ground with the plan of privatizing them, of course, and they'll end up in the hands of the elite and the 1%ers as they're commonly known. But look at Movie Town. I mean, at somewhere along the line, we have to ask the question, is there some sort of mafia that is trying to take over Movie Town? Because if it is that you have a owner who is saying, listen, I will work with you. I may not be able to pay it off completely, but I can pay in increments and I can pay a certain amount every month and we get that bill down. One would think that, okay, let's work things out. We came through COVID. We were in the heights of the pandemic. Things weren't moving. The economy was stagnant. Well, it seems it's been stagnant even before that. But the economy was stagnant. But yet you get this sort of bullying, a push. And we saw what happened with the security guards and what have you. Again, a very scary situation where Movie Town today, and it can be any other enterprise tomorrow, where people believe it's their God-given right to get their hands on it.
Mikee K, that Movie Town thing, I really don't know how to look at that, because for me, how could you allow a company to go so many years and owe so much money? Think about it. Look at the guys, the farming guys. How they just come and bulldoze them guys like it is nothing. A man have 14,000 chickens. He had to move 14,000 chickens. How a man go come up tomorrow, Mikee K? A black man, an entrepreneur, right? Doing business and doing well. You want to come and move him. Move him to move 14,000 chickens overnight. So to me, that Movie Town thing is a kind of thing where that, them guys have their hand in the cookie jar and they let it go too far and they're trying to pull it back. I say, this is out of the tube, start to put it back. So they allow the toothpaste to get out of the tube and now they're trying to put it back. That's why.
You did mention the other day, of course, something that you would like
Mikee
to...
K, 1 minute.
Go ahead.
1 minute.
Yeah.
Mikee K, 1 minute. Tommy, go ahead, Tommy.
Yeah, Tommy, go right ahead.
Mikee K,
I would like to say that both estates has a responsibility to the masses, to the populace, that they are not stepping up to take full advantage of. And that has the big precedent in order for people to become sensitized and be a little bit more vigilant so that they get the jobs and the respect that what they
Tommy, you want to repeat that again? I didn't hear the last part. Master Control, I'm not hearing on this side. So go ahead, Tommy, please.
Right, Tommy.
Yeah, I'm saying, I was saying that the fourth estate has a job to do, and it's for the people, and it's to be the voice of the people. And they're not stepping up. What can be done to resolve that and to rectify that part of the equation?
Well, but I think Professor LeBourne could share with me, Sonia, I think we could, these sentiments will share with me that the fact that, is it the culture of the people to actually stand up and say, listen, we've had enough. Now, I know that there are many narratives out there. You hear a lot of issues. You hear a lot of stories. Like I said, we had the Shadow Minister of Public Utilities dealing with the fact that the Public Utilities Minister is saying that there's a large billion-dollar bill with TNTech that provides electricity in Trinidad and Tobago. And because of that bill, that cost will be passed on to consumers. So citizens will have to dig deeper in their pockets now to pay for something that they really don't understand why it is that the onus is on them, when in fact that they are not the ones in authority to deal with that TNTech matter. So at some point, Tommy, you don't know what's going to happen, and so that's why this election basically has been defined as the mother of all.
I think you see regarding that TNTech bill of over that $4 billion bill or whatever the number is, if the commercial properties and the government buildings, if they pay their fair share to TNTech, that bill will never be that high. Never. Right? But as usual with this government, at the end of the day, the same people who the Prime Minister said he wants to make the rich richer to create opportunities for them, he's going to dig in them pocket for more. They're digging in them pocket for more. Every time the people at the bottom of the socio-economic ladder, this government wants to dig in their pocket and take out more. And not just take out more, but put a hole in their pocket. So whenever they put money in the pocket, it's falling out. And all the facts are there to show that they give the kids a $1,000 school book grant. You could barely make 2 subjects with $1,000 if you have 6 or 7 subjects. Right? So them things are plenty of these things that are currently happening today, my state, in my estimation, what I call G, not an election gimmick by the PNM government to continue to fool the people. But I hope, my thinking, that the people are not fooled by the election gimmick. Because I don't think the people of Trinidad and Tobago will take another 5 years of this frequent dictatorship.
Yeah. I want to have you back on sometime next week, because I want to ask you some questions at what point, take us back to that point when you realized that, listen, this was not about what was spoken about on the campaign trail. This was not about serving or delivering to the people. It was about self-interest, and I'm sure people would like to hear that, because many people are saying, listening to Wallstreet, he's changed. I mean, a lot that he is saying, and he's bringing the fight to them. And many of us, of course, have been quite amused by that you have taken the fight, you've done the fact checking, you've laid out all the facts, and you've been able to hold them to account for many things that they're saying. So that in itself takes a lot of courage. So hopefully next week I'd like to do a part 2 of this and take us to that point when you realize that this was not what they were saying it was to begin with.
I think I want to say thank you very much. I hope the Auditor General stands wrong and she's not been pleased by this.
All right. Thank you so much again to you and Tommy. Keep up the good work, and to the good folks, all your listeners out there, the folks who link with us. Thanks a lot, and it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.